there are some children who I imagine maybe might encounter this version of Mufasa first, which is kind of crazy. I was just thinking the other day, you could watch these movies, you could watch this one, and then you could go and either watch the 2019 or the 1994. And what would that be?
Michael Sowell from Washington, D.C. First, again, congratulations with this film. I remember when you were at CinemaCon and revealing this film, definitely to
Mhm.
get this sense of a emotional journey and process it took to actually reveal it to the public. But as this, being revealed to the public for both adults who grew up with the original film and also children of the current generation, this story is capturing all full perspectives of not just a hero and villain perspective, just as we get recently with Wicked, like characters we've been knowing as villains for almost decades
Mhm.
now, to telling that to children. And now, as an adult, I'm have more grace for a character like Scar that I didn't have when I was a child. Do you talk about in terms of what type of response you want children to receive from watching this film in terms of understanding the full aspect of Mufasa as well as Scar from when they're children to when they become adults?
Yeah, I just think that, 1994 and 2024 are two very different times. I think our children are just receiving way, way more stimulus, way, way more information beyond our control. The things that they're watching, the things they're seeing. I think because of that, these depictions of good and evil, of who is a leader and who is not, of who gets to be a leader, of what power is and how it manifests and corrupts, those depictions just they demand to be much more complex, much more fully fleshed in a 2024 context. And so there are some children who I imagine maybe might encounter this version of Mufasa first, which is kind of crazy. I was just thinking the other day, you could watch these movies, you could watch this one, and then you could go and either watch the 2019 or the 1994. And what would that be? If you're watching it in sequence, versus folks like us who have been living with the 1994 for the longest, or some of those children who were introduced to these characters in 2019 and have formed. We've all been forming a very deep relationship to these characters over the 30 years or the 5 years, whatever have you, and we judge them. We've decided who they are and why they are. I think it's really wonderful to now get to sort of recontextualize and maybe look at ourselves a little bit and start to do a little bit of that work, even if you're a child. Of, oh, but he was so happy, but they love each other. I'm trying to think of the way a parent like talk through some of these things with a child, and I think giving just a much richer and much more complex sort of like bedrock or depiction of these characters. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful. It was something I was very aware of as I started making the film. It's not about apologizing for Scar, because I do think, what I'm saying, he what he did in 1994 was heinous. But at the same time, going to the root and seeing how we all participated, or how the world participated, and how it became that way, I think is really important.
But I just want to say, as being the youngest person in this call, it's probably not a story I did ask for, but it's a story I needed. And I just want to say thank you again for getting on with this process so we can see this film. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man.